All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast, and for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the potential playoff matchups, and what it could end up being. Even though we got a week left in the regular season, things can change. So let's we'll discuss it. So I just wanted to fix the segment here. To center it. So I have the what the current playoff picture is like. So we'll start off with the NFC. So this is what you got right now. If the playoffs were to start today, even though we got one more week left. So obviously, the Niners are the 1 seed. That's cut off. But so you'd have the Cowboys taking on the Packers, and then you'd have the Lions taking on the Rams, and then you would also have, just to show it, the Eagles and the Bucs. Now we saw at least one of these matchups this year, and that was the Buccaneers and the Eagles early on in the season, and that was back in I think it was week 3? I think it was week 3. Well, let's just take a look really quickly. It was week 3. Yeah, it was week 3. The Eagles won 25-11. And I mean, the way the Eagles have been playing lately, I mean, I feel like it's anybody's game. But you know what? I feel like the Eagles would win, but it's hard to it's hard to determine that right now the way they've been playing. But yeah, so you got them, and the Bucs. Lions and the Rams is the one that I'm most excited for if that ends up happening, just because, again, you're going to see Stafford, possibly playing his former team. Same thing with Jared Goff as well. I'm really hoping that we end up getting that matchup. Now, we got it from a couple years ago, and I talked about this, I think, yesterday, or during the week, sometime during the week. They played back in 2021, and it was, back when the Lions weren't good. And, the Rams, they were one of the better teams in the NFL. It was, actually, let's see, what was the score of that game? Let's take a look at that. But yeah, I mean, that was, oh yeah, because I did say, I'm like, well, Goff didn't really make his return home. I mean, they were playing he only played in SoFi Stadium for 1 year, and it was with no fans. It was with no fans because that was the COVID year. But yeah, they ended up playing. So the final score of that game was 28-19. The Rams improved to 6-1 on the season, and the Lions dropped to 0-7. So actually, we'll look at the box score of the game. So Jared Goff went 22-36 for 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Jamal Williams was their leading rusher. The leading receiver was actually Khalif Raymond. He had 6 receptions for 115 yards. DeAndre Swift had 8 for 96 and a touchdown. I remember I had him on my fantasy team that year, so I was happy about that. Stafford went 28-41, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Darrell Henderson was their leading rusher. He only had 45 yards rushing. Cooper Kupp had 10 receptions for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, the Rams, that was when they were Super Bowl contenders. I mean, they could still be that if they can make a deep playoff run. This is where this matchup here, you could see the Rams winning the game. Because the Lions, their defense is, it's got some holes in it, of course. It's struggled at points during the season. There are times where they could definitely turn it on. But I feel like for them, it's going to be tough for them to stop this Rams offense if they have to go up against them. So I don't know. I might take the Rams in an upset if this ends up being the matchup, which it most likely is. But then you also have to look on the other side. You got the Lions offense going up against the Rams defense. And listen, Aaron Donald can wreck a game. But you know what? The Rams offense, the Lions, I think could move the ball on them. They got a lot of playmakers on their offense as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, their rookie tight end. the dual threat at running back. That would be this would be an interesting matchup, and I really hope that we get that. But it looks like that's going to be the case. All right, the 2 and the 7, the Packers and the Cowboys. That could definitely change because if the Packers lose, they're probably not making it. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little different this time around because listen, the Packers and the Cowboys have played in the playoffs a couple times. In the playoffs, in the last 10 years. Obviously, the first game was back in, the 2014-2015 season. You had the Dez caught it game, of course, where, the referees reversed the call and, Dez Bryant, in fact, didn't catch the ball. And the Packers ended up winning. But people are like, oh, Dez caught it. Okay, I got you. But do people not understand that there were 3.5 minutes left in the game? Aaron Rodgers could have went right down the field and scored again, and then they would have been it. I don't understand why it's... What? Was the game over? Was there 10 seconds left in the game? No, there was like 3.5 minutes left. Nick Urillo said Dez dropped it. Yeah, I agree. 100%. No, I mean, did he catch it? Yeah, but do I care? No. Because it was nice to see, the Cowboys upset after they reversed the call, and that was it was a fun time, and I thought the Packers were gonna maybe get to the Super Bowl, but we know what happened the following week. And then obviously you had the Jared Cook game and the Mason Crosby field goal to win that. That was in the divisional round, Dak Prescott's rookie season. So yeah, but it's different now because you got a different quarterback and you got a young team, which you got to be excited as a Packers fan because you look at their skill position players. Obviously Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are kind of like the veterans, on the offensive side of the ball. But, you got all these young guys like Jaden Reed and Bo Melton. I don't even know who that is. And he was making plays the other night. Malik Heath, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson, hopefully he comes back. And, of course, Jordan Love, how he's been playing. The Packers have a lot to be excited about, going forward. And it's been kind of a roller coaster of a season. They get off to a decent start, then Jordan Love struggles, then they're on a hot streak, and then, he struggles again. Well, he doesn't. Well, not him struggling, but the Packers as a team, losing the tough game against the Giants, and then of course, Baker Mayfield has that perfect passer rating in Lambeau Field, so it's kind of been a defense problem, and then they almost choked away the game against the Panthers. It's been a roller coaster of a season, and now you're playing against a divisional opponent that basically has nothing to play for after blowing out the Vikings, and this happened last year and they lost. And the Bears have been playing better. The Packers blew them out the first week of the regular season. It's a different team now, so we'll see what happens. But if this ends up being the matchup, you got to favor the Cowboys just because they've been playing. They've been on a different team at home. And the Packers' defense, is not good. But, the Packers are playing with house money. Nobody expected them to, get to the playoffs if they do, in fact, get there. So, we'll see what happens if this ends up being the matchup. But, yeah, the Cowboys, definitely will have flashbacks to, those previous 2 playoff losses. But what will be good for them is that it won't be Aaron Rodgers this time. It's going to be Jordan Love making his first playoff start. But hey, maybe he lights him up. We'll see. All right, so let's get into the AFC because I've kind of been just rambling on here. So yeah, right now at the moment you got the Dolphins will be playing the Colts, and then you got the Bills playing the Chiefs, and then in the other playoff matchup, if I can scroll, all right, for some reason it's not letting me. All right, there we go. So then it would also be the Jaguars and the Browns. I could definitely see the Browns, defeating the Jaguars again. because the Jags have been struggling for a while now. Injuries. I mean, with their quarterback, wide receiver. Yeah, I could definitely see that. And again, the way the Browns have been playing, I don't see why they can't upset Jacksonville again. The Bills, I mean, listen, they kind of, lucked out with Kadarius Toney lining up off sides because they could have very easily lost that game, but they lucked out. That is going to be, if it's Mahomes Allen first round, sign me up for that, because every time they play each other, there's always drama at the end, for the most part. So right now I would lean towards the Bills, just because, listen, the Chiefs did win on Sunday, but again, I'm still not, impressed with what. But again, the Bills, they could very easily, lay a dud in the playoffs too. I mean, Josh Allen turns the ball over. It's just, I don't know. But I would lean towards the Bills, though. Having said that, both these teams have their flaws. Let's just look at it like that. But again, sign me up for another Allen Mahomes playoff matchup. I would take that. It'd be another classic. Dolphins Colts. I mean, I would lean towards the Dolphins, but again, the Dolphins, they're banged up right now. So whether it's the Colts, whether it's the Texans, I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough if the Dolphins are still banged up, because obviously your receivers aren't healthy. Tyreek Hill is still dealing with the ankle. Actually, another thing, scary situation yesterday. So Tyreek Hill's house caught on fire. Seems like everybody was okay, but yeah, he had to leave practice. And in the video, you see he's in a again. Thankfully, everybody's okay, but you saw he was in a walking boot. So yeah, I mean, the ankle injury is still affecting him, but yeah, scary situation yesterday with that. But yeah, he was in a walking boot. Waddle missed the game against the Ravens. I mean, obviously, on defense, Xavier Howard's hurt. Bradley Chubb, unfortunately, tearing his ACL late in the game against the Ravens. The Dolphins are dealing with a lot right now. Mostert was out. It's whoever they play in the first round, it's going to be tough, but they are going to be at home. So, and also Tua got hurt as well, but it's not a shoulder injury. I believe is non-throwing shoulder, so he should be fine. But it's Dolphins. Have been struggling a bit, So and they got some injuries. So whoever they play, I mean, whether it's the Colts, who are going to be running the football, Gardner Minshew has been playing decent this year, like I said, or you're getting C.J. Stroud, who could put up a lot of points. It's going to be a tough first-round matchup, regardless, for the Dolphins. But I think they could still win. They should win. But if they got bounced out in the first round, that would be a really disappointing end to their season. And Nick also said, if there's any year where Allen can defeat Mahomes, it's got to be this year. Yeah, exactly. It's got to be this year, because the Chiefs are, not the powerhouse they have been. Now, their defense, probably the best that it's ever been in the Mahomes era. But listen, the offense right now, Travis Kelce doesn't look like, the Travis Kelce we're accustomed to seeing. I think what you got to worry about is really their running backs. Isaiah Pacheco has been running the football effectively this year when he's healthy. Rashee Rice actually has started to produce in recent weeks. Mahomes has found some comfort throwing to him, at least, because his other receivers, I mean, Valdez-Scantling and him dropping the ball. Kadarius Toney. I mean, Kadarius Toney's missed a couple games with injuries, so but it's just been Sky Moore's on IR. Yeah, it's the Chiefs. They got to get some wide receivers in there next year, because this is not cutting it. But yeah, I mean, these are the potential playoff matchups right here. So let me know what you guys think about them. Which matchup are you most excited for? Because we got some good ones if these end up being the matchups. So yeah, so that's pretty much it when talking about this. We're gonna take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about the Pro Bowl rosters that were announced. So I'll get into that, who got snubbed, and that'll be it for the show when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.